Hello there. In the previous videos, we got the working cursor, and now it's time for the final part where we add keyboard input handling. Also, I recorded a separate video explaining why I made my own keyboard input system instead of using the standard input that works for regular menus. We will work with the laptop blueprint, go to the event graph. The simplest thing we can do is to handle any key, add the key event, and since all interaction goes through the widget interaction component, grab it and call press key and release key. Pressed go to press key, released go to release key, and don't forget to pass key into both nodes. At this point, it already kind of works. Letters appears, and for some games this might actually be enough, but shift doesn't work and everything is typed in uppercase. So let's add a bit more logic. First, I want to know what is happening with shift. And so I'll add two events, one for left shift and the other one for right shift, and store their states in two variables, left shift pressed and right shift pressed. To keep the event graph a bit tidier, I'll create a function called handle keyboard with two arguments, a key of type k and a boolean for the pressed state. Then instead of directly calling press k and release k from the any k, I'll call this function twice. Pressed goes here, released goes here, here true, and here false. It is also important to understand that we have different kinds of keys. We have utility keys like the arrow keys that don't directly produce texts. We have letters that simply need to become uppercase when shift is pressed. And we also have keys like numbers or the comma, where converting to uppercase is not enough. Instead, we need a proper mapping. For example, pressing 1 with shift should produce an exclamation mark, and pressing slash with shift should produce a question mark. And to manage this, I'll create two maps. The first one is called utility keys. The variable type is key, the container is map, and the value type is integer. Compile first to edit the default values, then click the keyboard icon and add all your utility keys. Next, we need another similar variable. I'll call it shift exceptions. This one is also map, but both the key and the value are strings. Here we simply create a list of keys that should behave differently when shift is pressed. Here I press 1, then here I press 1 with shift to get an exclamation mark, and so on. Now let's implement the handle keyboard function. First, check whether the key belongs to the keyboard, otherwise do nothing. Then check whether the key exists in utility keys. If it does, create another function called handle utility key that takes a key and a pressed boolean and also call it here. If it is not a utility key, get the key name, disable long display name, convert it to string, and if the string length is exactly 1, create and call another function called handle char, which takes a string for the character and a boolean for the pressed state. Now let's implement those new functions. Handle utility k is very simple, exactly like we did at the very beginning. Branch on pressed, get the widget interaction component and call press k on true and release k on false. And don't forget to attach k to k. Handling character is a bit more complicated. First, branch on the pressed state. If it's false, do nothing, then check shift case. If neither shift case pressed, take the character, convert it to lowercase, and call send k char on the widget interaction component. If shift is pressed, do another branch, check whether the character exists in the shift exceptions map, and if it does, take the mapped value and pass it into send k char. Otherwise, take the original character, convert it to uppercase, and pass that into send k char. And that's probably it. I'm experimenting with different video formats, and I tried to make this part more compressed with less filler and with some speed up sections, but it may feel a little out of sync with the visuals because the voiceover was recorded afterwards. So let me know which format you prefer. The more natural one, where I explain everything as I go, even if I occasionally stumble over my words, some like I did in previous parts, or this more compressed style. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you want to motivate me to keep making these niche tutorials. See you next time.